Hi, I'm Phylum and welcome back to my channel. I took a bit of a break from videos at the end of last year, but I'm back. It's a new year, I'm a new man, and today it's finally time to talk about Diabotical. Diabotical is really a passion project of James Too Good Harding, famous for Dota International Controversy when he was called an arse by Gabe Newell. The game's going to be a spiritual successor to Quake Live, an arena shooter, multiplayer focused, competitive focused, but also trying to improve on some of the shortcomings of Quake Live, notably with community features and ways to be inclusive towards a more casual audience. The game's been in development on and off for a very long time. It was successfully kickstarted in I think 2017, a few years ago now. Development's been closely guarded and no public gameplay has been seen yet, but it feels like we're getting closer and closer to this release, and some dates early this year actually have been given. So why am I excited about Diabotical? Well, the big thing is the community focus. This game really understands that the community is what has made Quake great for all these years, and is what's going to continue to make it great in the future. One of the core things about Diabotical is it's built really strongly around a map editor, and a map editor that's very simple to use. One of the big problems with, especially like Quake 3, it was hard to make maps for. There was a complicated toolchain, there were lots of things. It's not necessarily hard to make a map, but it's very time consuming to make a half-decent map, let alone a really good one. In Diabotical, they want to make sure that the community right from the start has the tools to make amazing content. We're going to be able to run our own servers, we're going to be able to have custom game modes, and just a lot of community flexibility and customization, because communities that sprung up from Quake 3, some of them still exist and play these custom game modes like Freeze Tag and Urban Terror. These games still exist today, and Diabotical wants to give them the chance to spring up maybe again. In addition to this, one of the biggest kind of notable features of the game are the egg bots, the player characters, which are kind of blank canvases, these spheres, and you can customize them with paint and stickers and, just kind of have a way to express yourself as a player in the game. Traditionally in Quake we've used bright skins, so bright green players, bright green tank juniors hopping around, everyone looking very homogenous. And one thing I've always wanted from a content point of view was to be able to have, different coloured people for different teams, kind of like a team outfit or something. And now this game's going to support that. Right from down at a casual level, casual players are going to be able to have fun decorating their players. Pro players are potentially going to be able to have things like, sponsors and like numbers on their back. I think it's a really cool feature, and it just excites me a lot that we'll have a way to express ourselves in the game, as long as it doesn't hurt visibility. That's kind of my catch on that. But yeah, as well as other social features and ways to run tournaments within games, which I think is also really important, as someone who's run tournaments in both Quake Live and Quake Champions and not necessarily had the best experience in either, one of my favourite features that Too Good has talked about is a way to give back to community content creators. So the example he gave was you'll be able to buy a 40 Lions cosmetic pack. So you get a bunch of cosmetics related to 40 Lions and his brand, and the money goes to 40 Lions, right? This isn't just a game that's kind of self-sustained, it's a game that wants to give back to the community that contribute to it. In a similar vein, the game seems to have a really good understanding of fun versus competitive. It can extend itself and add, overpowered super weapons to casual modes without these things leaking in and impacting the core competitive game. And what is going to be played in these, kind of fun auxiliary modes will hopefully still strongly reflect the competitive modes and help people prepare for them. But, the game seems to have an understanding of what is fun. But yeah, as I kind of hinted there, the game is going to be built on a fairly fundamental Quake basis. It looks very much like Quake Live. From what we've seen, maybe there's a little bit more air control, but not like CPMA or Quake World. Like, it's 99% Quake Live movement from what we've seen. The guns are the standard Quake guns. It's taking a solid Quake base and building extra features on top of that. But again, keeping what seems to be a very pure Quake base as the basis for the competitive modes. And I think this is important. I mean, Quake Live got a lot of stuff right. If they make some minor tweaks to Quake Live, they're going to have a phenomenal game on their hands. Too Good actually used to be a pro Quake player, and he's been consulting with some of the finest Quake minds in the world with this game. So if anyone's going to get Quake gameplay right, it's going to be these guys. And I think that's important, because classic old-school Quake gameplay without champions, without the kind of quirks that come with Quake Champions and that engine and stuff. It's just a really beautiful and interesting thing, and I really want to see it have a future. So now on to the fun part of the video, and I'm going to talk about some of the criticisms I've seen of the game, and there are a lot so far, and it really makes me sad, because a lot of people seem to miss the point. of what Diabotical's trying to do. So one of the common things I've seen in the Quake Champion subreddit, especially lately, is people just dismissing the game, saying that it's going to fail, it's going to flop on launch like Reflex or Toxic. Or Quake Champions even, right? Quake Champions had a really bad launch. It left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and some people still haven't gotten over that. If you look at the Steam chart, right, it kind of goes whoop, and then drops down again. So Diabotical has learnt from these games in the past, I think. Too Good understands that you only launch once. Now, whatever you say about early access and all that stuff, it doesn't matter. You only get one launch. If you remember Reflex when that launched, it actually got some press coverage back in like 2014. Media outlets were excited about it. They were like, hey, here's this cool old school game. There was some buzz for a few days, and then it just died because the game wasn't at a point where it could, have a community and stuff. It was still very much early access. Now, in the case of Reflex, they had like funding reasons to have to go into early access at that point. They failed their Kickstarter. But if that game could have released where it is today, it would have been a very different story. It could have held, many more players for much longer. It still would have had certain issues, but it would have been a much, much better game if they could have held on to it until it was ready. And this seems to be what Too Good's doing. This is why he's playing his cards so close to his chest and not showing off the whole kitchen sink at the moment. He's building a complete game, and when it's ready, he's going to start dropping the videos, building the hype, and then go into a strong launch, because, like I said, he understands that you only launch once. The other big criticism I see is of the graphical style. The graphical style is very simple and very bold, and I think there are lots of important reasons for that. You don't want your maps to be really busy and detract from what people can see and how people interact with the game. You want maps to be easily readable, and it seems like there's some efforts being made to kind of code information into the maps about, where pickups and stuff are, to encourage people to actually get them. But I guess the big thing is, just because the game isn't dark and edgy doesn't mean it's not cool. Okay, you might love the old Quake style, you might love that Quake Champions has the whole gothic thing going on, that's great. But just because Diabotical isn't dark and edgy doesn't mean it doesn't look good. I like the really simple visual style, and I think it's going to be really important with the customization of the egg bots, that the maps are just very simple to read, and that players are going to stand out against them. But yeah, just because it's not dark and edgy doesn't mean it's not cool, guys. Give it a chance. So the other big criticism I see is that the egg bots look silly. And, I think that's kind of the point. I think they're supposed to be kind of silly, a bit zany, kind of like a quirky, fun thing. And I think that's going to be part of what the appeal is going to be with how this game's going to be marketed. But, really, at the end of the day, even if you don't like the style and all that, something to appreciate with the egg bots will be how transparent the hitboxes will be. When you have long, thin characters, there's potential for them to wiggle around a lot, and those hitboxes can get a bit confusing. An eggbot, they're kind of short, they're kind of stocky, they're chunky, and you're going to have a really good sense of what hits and what doesn't. That I'm confident of. And I think that's so important for a really competitive Quake-like game, and it's been a problem in games, not only Quake Champions. If you play CPMA, man, I have no idea where those hitboxes are when you're trying to hit someone with LG. It's a nightmare to keep it focused. So if they get hitboxes right, a nice chunky eggbot should be a massive positive step for the competitive scene of this game. Alright, and now the big one. The big criticism I see, that people say that this game is just going to be pandering to the existing hardcore Quake community. And you know what? I think this game is designed to kind of pander to the existing hardcore Quake community. No one else is going to pander to us, If some love and attention isn't given to the existing hardcore Quake community, I'm afraid it's going to die. And with it, a 20-plus year legacy of amazing competitive games, of players teaching players, of, lineages, of rivalries, all of that will die with it. I don't want to see competitive Quake forgotten in the dust, so it's important that this game gives us a future and gives us something to look forward to with it. But I think it's more than just pandering, right? I think it actually takes the right approach. So if you were to make a modern Quake game, I think there are two ways you can go with it. You could either say that the gameplay is the problem and try and water down the gameplay and make it simpler, but not really address any of the problems that Quake Live had, which was, getting people into games, tutorials, right? Or you could take the approach that I think Diabotical's taking. You keep what works. You keep this amazing foundation for a game, and you try and think, how can you appeal to more people? What can you give to the community to make what they're doing easier, to allow them to have more diverse map pools, to allow them to make more content, and to incentivize people to make good content, to give them real monetary rewards, How can you engage with a more casual player base? How can you give them something fun to do where they're still actually learning about the game and kind of almost tricking them into understanding and appreciating Quake? I really think that Diabotical has taken the right approach to the hardcore community, where it preserves it, where it respects it, and then it also respects the more casual player coming in, and it wants to support them and kind of give them a push into starting a Quake journey. So look, at the end of the day, I'm just excited about this game. I'm excited about the idea of a game that gives us a platform to do amazing things with Quake, because at the moment, that doesn't exist, and I don't think that's ever existed before. You know, Quake has needed this for a long time, and this support has just never been there. I'm excited about the idea of being able to have lots of different maps. I'm excited about the idea of being able to run our own servers and do things. I want to see what kind of APIs and cool community features that Too Good can give us to play with here, because if they're there, we will play with them. And I mean, some of this stuff got added by the end of Quake Live, right? We can run our own servers. People have done amazing things with customization of their servers. There are really powerful APIs and stuff for the servers and crazy things you can do that were never utilized because it came too late in the game. If Diabotical's hitting the ground running with these amazing community features, with ways to run tournaments in the game, just to make what we're already doing so much easier, you know, Discord integration, right? Why not? Things like that. Things that are going to make people... It's going to make people's lives so much easier in the game. It's going to make them want to hang around and engage with Quake even more. I think there's been a big problem lately in how people think about Quake, and maybe forever, right? With people not respecting it as a hardcore, interesting, competitive game. And if we can get people in and get them playing these fun, competitive modes where they actually learn the mechanics... Fun casual mode, sorry, where they learn the mechanics and learn to understand the game, and then from there can transition into watching streams and understanding more and teaching other people. I don't know. I have a dream that Quake maybe isn't as big as, you know, CSGO or Dota. I don't think it will be as big as those games, but we have the potential to have a really powerful niche community, guys. We have the potential to just be our own thing. Quake should be respected among esports. Quake should have a place among the top esports, just for its historical significance and for the beauty of the game. Because Quake is a beautiful game. You know, classic old school Quake. I love it to death. I think it's so interesting. And at the very least, when Diabotical comes out, I'm going to be here on this channel shouting into this microphone about all the exciting games that are happening. I'm going to be tearing them apart. I'm going to be getting into that heavy analysis. I'm going to be doing the commentary. So, man, before I ramble on too much, I think it's time to cut it. I have more notes, and you know what? I'm just going to forget them, okay? Diabotical is going to be great. If you love Quake Champions, you're allowed to continue loving Quake Champions. You don't even have to play Diabotical, but I think you should try it, because I think Diabotical respects the players and respects the community in a way that I just feel Quake Champions hasn't, you know? And that's not to say that I hate Quake Champions. I'm still going to be involved with Quake Champions. I've still got stuff lined up for that game in the very near future, and I don't know, maybe if there's more stuff happening later in the year, you know, I'm not going to close the door on Quake Champions. I'm still happy to be part of that community. But when Diabotical comes, it's definitely going to be my #1 priority, because I think there's so much potential there for the future. So, this has been a video and a half. My voice is absolutely trashed. I've had tonsillitis, guys. I'm doing this in spite of having tonsillitis. So, thank you very much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, because I want to become the home of Australian Diabotical, the voice of Australian Diabotical, if not the voice of global Diabotical. You know, why not aim high? So, it's getting very late. I'm dying of heat stroke because it's very hot in Australia at the moment, and I need to go to bed. Thank you guys for tuning in to this wonderfully rambly video. I'm just excited about this game, and it's getting the best of me, despite all my efforts to script this. So, thanks guys. Catch you next time.